getting well, you need to show up. Hey, what's up? Listen. This is the Frankie Boyer Show.
And welcome. Hi, everybody. It is Frankie Boyer, and this is Business Talk Radio Network and Lifestyle Talk Radio Networks, and we are so thrilled you're with us. So do you know that lawyers, on the average, make $1 million more, $1 million more in their career than any other profession? Is that really true? Is that really true? Professor Joseph Marino, also a lawyer.
Hey, Frankie, it's Joe Marino. Glad to be on your show.
Is it true?
It is true. Now distinguishing lawyers from people with just the degree from law school, they estimate that degree could be worth $1 million more during the career of a person.
So one would think, though, that we had too many lawyers right now in this country.
Well, it goes back to Shakespeare, but that, lawyers both practice law and legal education, getting a Juris Doctorate. When you get to law school, you're not actually a lawyer, but that education helps in many ways. There are what they call JD Advantage positions, for instance, working for the FBI or the government or compliance, as well as being an attorney. So that degree can help you in a lot of ways, and you don't have to be a lawyer.
Okay. Over your life, you followed your father and his amazing career because your dad, Joseph Sr., changed the way the bar review is taught. Is that true?
Yes, my dad was, and we've always called him a trailblazer, and he really was. And the 1940s, to become an attorney, you didn't have to go to law school, and there were no formal programs. And my father was one of the first to create a formal program and gain a national reputation for educating people for the bar exam.
How cool is that? So you are, you now are also involved as a professor at the New York Law School, and you're the content director at the Marino Legal. Tell us a little bit about what the Marino legal system is, because it's different than most systems.
Yeah, of course. We're Marino Legal Academy, and the reason we call ourselves Marino Legal Academy is that we provide a lot of collateral education for law students and postgraduate education once they get out. We do bar review courses throughout the country to prepare students for the bar exam, and then we're licensed providers nationally to provide continuing legal education for attorneys.
And so when you work with the attorneys from all over, what are some of the biggest concerns?
Well, with the bar review, many of the big concerns, for lawyers is that the passage rate on the exams are not tremendously high. And so that their big concern is being able to succeed, and it's been a challenge. And, Frankie, one of the reasons is there are a lot of lawyers, and that, states just don't flood everyone out of law school into the practice of law, and so their big concern, of course, is passing. And in the continuing ed side, that they need to stay compliant, not just simply get educated, and their big concern is not losing their license, and our whole programs are set up to ensure they're in compliance with each state regulation.
Well, when you look at the way in which laws are changed and what happens within each state, it really is kind of daunting.
It is absolutely daunting, especially that if you were an attorney in one state and you wanted to travel and go to another, and frequently people move, you'd have to retake the whole bar exam, which could mean you have to relearn a lot of provincial rules of law. But, frankly, there's something sort of exciting happening in the bar review area, and this is really good for the public. They've enacted in what they call the uniform bar exam, and 15 states have joined up, and it's one exam for 15 states. And if you do well enough on the exam, you can get admitted in 15 states. And so this is a very exciting new thing that's happening.
So that if you practiced in New York, and what other 15 states do you...
Well, the 15 states do not include New York or do not include California or Texas or Florida or Illinois, some of the big states, or Massachusetts. Yes. New Hampshire's the state on the east, Georgia's a state, and then there's a string of states starting in Washington State through Utah, Wyoming, Arizona, Colorado, going down to Utah, if I didn't mention it, but a whole string of states in the middle of the United States.
So that if you're practicing, let's say that you're on a case, and there are some things happening that are in the nearby state. As a lawyer, you could not handle that for your client because you're not, unless you had passed the bar for that state.
That's correct. That once you pass the bar, you still have to become admitted in a state, and that other than this group of 15 states administering the same test, every other state would require you to take their bar exam or make a motion to get admitted based upon your experience having practiced in another state. But basically, you have to refer the case out or get special permission to handle the case.
It sounds very exciting, though.
This area is really very exciting. Besides the fact that law and policies continue to change, this whole area is always a great area to be in because you're dealing with the youth of the nation, and you're dealing with education, which is a very exciting thing.
Do you think that when we look back in history, do you think that it was the O.J. Simpson trial that really gave law a different look, and that everybody was like, I want to be a lawyer? Did it begin back then?
Well, I think that was, Frankie, I'll agree that, the O.J. Simpson and other major cases where you got cameras, in and about a courtroom, and people began to see lawyers in action, and there was a real true dream team of lawyers there defending him. It brought a lot of attention to law, and it brought, it made attorneys much more than clerks. It came back to the Clarence Darrow time.
Yes. So how did your father feel about cameras in the courtroom?
My father basically retired in the late 70s, and I know at that time, of course, it wasn't like now with cameras in the courtroom, but he always believed that courtrooms should be open, that the public should see what's going on, and that this shouldn't be done behind closed doors.
Yes, I have to say that I agree. I think that what happens I also think that what happens in the police stations should be public, that there should be cameras all the time in every single room that you are being questioned.
It's very funny how you read, and there are cameras on every street corner, and in some cities you can't walk a block without being on video. But at the same time, there's no specific regulations that require inside police stations there be cameras. And I would tend to agree with you. It would do away with a lot of the speculation of what actually happens in a particular, with a particular defendant.
Tell me, what would you think if we were to look at the past few years? What, in your opinion, has changed the profession?
Well, significant things that are changing the profession are the automation of the profession, the ability to now do legal research right on your computer with one of the major databases.
So, I've been to Suffolk. I have a very good friend who's a professor at Suffolk,
mm-hmm.
And one of the older professors and who has had tenure there, and he said the library is really not, it's extinct. You don't really need it this day and age.
And I would tend to agree with that. And, the American Bar Association does require a library to be approved under the American Bar standards as a law school, but that most law students do not go into the library.
No, they don't go there, yeah.
No, they can do research right on the computer, fast, effective. In fact, there had been law schools that proposed not to have libraries, but they could not get certified under the American Bar.
Right. But it is interesting to see how technology has changed in your field.
Oh, it's significantly changed. Our programs at Marino Legal are almost not all the CLE. We do a tremendous amount of live CLE, but we do a tremendous amount of online. In our bar review programs, which we run around the country, we do it online, not just a video, but we do a direct online sort of one-on-one classes. And with technology, we can have a student watching us a lecture or looking at problems on the internet, and then we can use their tablet device and be in immediate communication with them solving problems. And students would prefer to do that than travel 5 blocks and sit in front of the instructor.
I think it's fascinating what's happening.
Yeah.
For more information, Joseph Marino, where can people go?
MarinoLegal.com.
Thank you so much for being with us today. And we will be back in just a moment. This is Frankie Boyer, Business Talk Radio Network and Lifestyle Talk Radio Network.